Hey there, folks. This is Adam here, coming at you live. Not really, this is pre-recorded. On the Junkdrummer TV network. This is Drunk Uncle Radio, as my good friend Jimmy would say once again. As you left us last week, we were talking about iconic gear, and we didn't have enough time quite to make it to our favorite subject, which is the electric bass. So, that's what's coming up next year, and be sure to stick around to the end as we have a very special cover as Slate Dump takes the stage, the virtual stage, once again with a very special cover of the ZZ Top classic Got Me Under Pressure. So enjoy what's ahead. Be sure to visit drunkunkleradio.com. Follow us on Instagram and Twitter at drunkunkleradio. Subscribe to Junkdrummer TV on YouTube, and just enjoy what you're about to watch. Love you guys.
So, dude, John, I'm so fired up for this next section.
It's time. It's time. All four of us are in fact bass players, and we are now going to make everyone else who is lost watching or listening along bass players as well. It's time to get into bass guitar in our deep dive. So, this is gonna be just a fucking free-for-all.
Yeah, boy.
I'm gonna try to keep order. I'm gonna try to get us through some of that are on this list, but for bass players, I'm gonna kick it off hot. Bass of Doom,
the number one bass of all time. And one of the things that non-bass players, and this bums me out because you are all three just fantastic bass players, and you've all went through your Jocko phases, and sometimes bass players think it's just gauche to still be into Jocko, but as a non-bass player who can play this much on bass, I still love Jocko as much as I do the first time I heard him. And it's one of the things that is a pleasure to not be a bass player, because if you're a bass player, it's fucking Jocko, and he's the world's greatest bass player, right? I know, but you know that was his nom de plume.
That's what the marquee says. Yes,
exactly.
I'm with Pat Metheny was talking about this one time, and I feel exactly the same way. It's like at this point now, like we've all done it. Nearly every like bass player that kind of takes chops seriously for some point of time has at least come into contact with Jaco Pastorius music and with trying to transcribe some of his playing and figure out what he's doing and all this and all that. And there's a whole lot of Jaco copies, and you or people copying that sound. And
that's a pandemic.
You hear so
clones,
at least in jazz schools across the country.
Hell yeah, it is.
You hear so many people like that are cloning it and like not quite, they don't get all the way there. You hear so many bad iterations of it, or like good players doing it, but just it's not the same. And then when you hear Jocko do it again, you're like, oh yeah, that guy was fucking phenomenal. Like he was special, generational talent. And that bass was so much a part of it. The Bass of Doom, if you don't
tell us about it,
is a 62 fretless jazz Sunburst that he had ripped the frets out of, filled them with wood filler, and then put marine epoxy on the neck so he could use round wound strings. What's funny though too is like some of those real seminal recordings weren't made with the Bass of Doom. They were made with his fretted jazz. And
like, are we talking Weatherport shit?
Birdland was on a fretted jazz.
No.
Portrait of Tracy's on a fretted. Fretted jazz.
Oh, dude, try and playing all those harmonics and keeping that in tune on a fretless bass. Portrait of Tracy, it's a nightmare on a fretless bass.
Are you serious?
Yeah, he played that, and that fretted I think was a 60 or 61. It was a little earlier than the fretless.
So what finish was that?
Same Sunburst.
Okay.
Same Sunburst, three-color Sunburst, three-tone Sunburst. But he used the fretted a whole lot, actually. Like, I don't know if I'd say as much, but near as much as the fretless. And then later on, he used a bunch of different stuff for different reasons. But
for depressing reasons.
Yeah, and then even early on, he wasn't always using the bass of doom. There was another bass. There was a natural jazz that he borrowed from one of his buddies. This natural finish jazz that you'd see him use, that he used on some recordings and stuff too, because he only had, he had his couple of basses.
Is the birthday concert all on the doom?
I think all of that's on the doom that I can remember. He might have played the fretted for a couple of them, but I can't remember. I can't exactly recall.
I feel like most of that record has that big moving, slidey, fretless swagger to it.
That bass, though, which is now owned by Trujillo of Metallica, I
love that story. It's such a heartwarming story.
It is. And, he's just like, it's always available to the Pastorius family. And if they want to buy it from him, he'll sell it to them for the price that he paid for it.
And how much was that?
I'm not entirely sure, but I'm sure it was a hell of a lot of money.
I'm almost for certain, and comment section, tell me I'm stupid, I'm almost certain that it was $1 million.
I would bet so. I would not be the least bit surprised. But that bass he threw it. Like, he used to do it all the time. He'd stand, you could find these videos of him. He'd jump on it from on top of his acoustic 360 rig. He'd kick it. He'd throw it down. He'd throw it up in the air and catch it or not.
Throw it at Kenwood. Kenwood.
He would do that quite famously. But the one that finally killed it was he threw it over his amps after a solo one. He just threw it over the other side of the stage, and his sound guy was supposed to, or his tech was supposed to catch it like he always did, but Jocko was not, I guess, in his right mind, and threw it to the wrong side of the stage. So he just threw it up, and you hear boom, and the thing just blows to pieces.
Oh no!
So the luthier that fixed it had to put caps on the front and the back. Had to sandwich the body because the body had broken into 3 or 4 different huge pieces. The neck had totally snapped, so he had to fix the headstock and the neck. Had totally redone it, and then it got stolen while Jocko was homeless and living. I think it was somewhere around Greenwich Village or the park or something like that.
It was sleeping. It was sleeping on a park bench, man.
It was gone for years.
Coles, I'm pretty sure. Some of my favorite recordings are terrible fidelity, but it's the 7th Street recordings.
Oh yeah,
with Hiram Bullock and Kenwood Denard, and I'm almost for certain that's not with the bass of doom. I'm pretty sure it's gone by then.
He could have been playing. It could have been a P bass by then. It could have been another jazz bass. It could have been. He was playing
found that day.
He was getting. He was getting sent basses by everybody. Everybody wanted Jocko to play their bass, so he would just get free bass. Fender sent him free basses all the time that he just didn't play, and he would just sell them or give them away.
That's so fucking sad, man.
But
his story fucking bums me out more than just about any musician's story,
man. Well, and as much for his playing and his sound and all that, his tones. Every now and again I'll go back and I'll listen to that first record, or I'll listen to Word of Mouth or something like that, and listen to him. But my favorite stuff of him is when he's like Joni Mitchell Hygieia. That's probably, in Shadows and Light. That's my favorite Jocko stuff, because he's playing to these wonderful songs and just playing these big lyrical parts.
Yeah, so much melody.
Man, Dry Cleaner from Des Moines is a fucking perfect song.
Yeah, or like Refuge of the Roads or Coyote. And he's playing these big, huge tones, playing these beautiful parts. Because how he got connected with Joni Mitchell was, I can't remember who the bass player was, but she had this idea, she said, where she's like, I want the bass to be playing very melodic parts with me, because she was on that Mingus kick or whatever. And it's I want the bass to be doing these really melodic things up where I'm doing them, and just complimenting me, call and response, answer stuff. And the guy she'd hired, was, I can't remember who it was, but one of those big old studio bass players. And he's like, I don't do that, but I've heard of this kid. It's there's this kid that's playing for Bob Hope and Dinah Shore.
Wait, so give me the timeline of that. Is this pre-Weather Report?
I don't remember. Hygieia was 76 or 77. His solo record came out 76, the first one. Weather Report. His first Weather Report record was
Heavy Weather.
Well, I think he plays one track on Black Market.
You're right, he does.
And then he's like all in on Heavy Weather. He like co-produced Heavy Weather. He's like all in on.
And played drums on Teen Town.
He played drums on Teen Town.
Wow.
And but she'd heard about him from this guy, and she called him up and got in there. He showed up, and it was just immediately. That was the thing. You hear, I mean, you can hear, you go plug in Refuge of the Roads, and you hear that, and you're like, God, who's that? Or his solo album, that first record, the first thing you hear is it's
Donna Lee.
Donna Lee. Shit, my bad.
The first thing you hear are bongos and this guy.
Montreux. What's his name? Montreux.
It might have been Don Elias.
Don Elias. There it is.
Elias, yeah.
I'm thinking of the guy who played Steel Pans.
Otello Molyneux.
Yeah.
There it is.
But it's like an electric bass playing Charlie Parker with bongos. That's how you start changing
even
the
eights.
Yeah, even eights. That's how you start playing. Like that's how you change the scope of jazz music and really like modern music in a lot of ways, because so many bass players and other musicians like emulated his thing and his arranging, his all sorts of stuff. But
that's the thing. He does not get, at least in wider circles, the notoriety that he should for his arranging. I feel like that was his strongest. His writing and arranging skill was far, far beyond his bass playing skill, and his bass playing skill was amazing.
Yeah.
Wasn't that the big reason? That was one of the reasons that Zawinul wanted him.
Well,
it was for his writing.
He'd started doing a lot of arranging, like back when he was with Wayne Cochran and the CC Riders.
Oh God, I forgot.
On the Chitlin circuit and playing those shows and stuff.
Talk about the grease.
And that's where the chicken came from, right?
Yeah, supposedly. There's some Jocko's just one of those dudes. He's so wrapped up in mythology at this point, it's hard to separate fact from fiction.
Right.
And, but yeah, I mean, his writing and arranging is probably one of my favorite. I mean, it's my favorite part of him because he really started to come into his own at it. Like Word of Mouth is a really great writer's record. I mean, his playing, I don't know, it's one of those. And him with the Bass of Doom, that's sort of for bass players, his impact can't really be like understated. Because the guy we'll talk about in a little bit, Pino, that first whole thing, it was kind of like. There were so many guys in the 80s, and Pino included. Pino's one of my favorites, but they were stored of copping that thing.
Well, let's go right on to Pino because.
Well, hold on before you do that.
Oh, okay.
Do you know who I think does the best Jocko? It's Christian McBride on a fucking fretless bass. Have you heard Christian do the Jocko thing?
Oh yeah.
It's perfect. It's perfect.
He cops it just about as close as anybody I've heard.
For sure.
There's so much of it is like Jocko's athleticism and his strength in his hands.
That's a good word for it, athleticism.
He did not play with a low action.
No.
For real.
he was a, athletic guy, had these like big, strong hands that he would just like grab things with. And somebody like Christian McBride, who's an upright player primarily, he's going to have upright player hands. It's going to be strong, have that grip. He can muscle it the way Jocko did. And Christian McBride, he gets about as close as anybody I've ever heard do it.
Except for,
as John will now lead us into,
Pino Palladino's Fretless Music Man.
Yes, it was a 79, I believe, 79 Music Man, and he got the Music Man fretless. Like I think he had a Precision fretless before that, and and he'd played like P basses and different things, and he'd tried a Stingray, but he didn't like the Stingray because he said it was too bright. But whenever he said he tried a fretless Stingray, that the brightness sort of lent itself to it, and it kind of warmed up. and the clarity and made a lot more sense to him.
It makes sense. You balance out the lack of the steelness or the metalness of the fret with the softness of your fingertip. It's gonna it's gonna darken the sound.
That's a pretty rare bass, right? That's not like something you see as like you see fretless jazzes everywhere. That's not a real common bass, right?
And those old ones are really hard to find. And now I guess, there's, since Pino become like almost mainstream famous in the music world once he got with John Mayer, which is kind of funny. Like he's been on so many gigantic records and so many sounds, every time you go away, wherever I lay my hat.
The Don Henley, somebody's going, oh, God damn. That's perfect.
There's so many songs he was on, gigantic songs, but the John Mayer trio thing just sort of brought him into the forefront.
It did the same thing for Steve Jordan too.
Yeah, exactly. Steve Jordan had been.
We all knew already, and then now your girlfriend knew who Steve Jordan was.
And Steve Jordan were like the modern day like funk brothers and played on all these hits and nobody knew who they were.
Yeah.
It was like Chuck Rainey and Bernard Purdy.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah, preach, man.
Probably the most recorded rhythm section of all time.
Yeah. Man, Jimmy, give the people who don't, because Pino Palladino is for the wonks. You know what I mean? Everyone knows Jocko, but right. Pino, if you got to be like a wonky nerd like us, give them just a grab bag of songs, because it's one of those cats. It's just those faceless guys too. You're just standard music listener.
Yeah, he's like the only guy that can make Stanley Clarke look real short.
But give us like a grab bag, all of you all, because you all know more about this than I do, of like Pino songs.
I mean, the first big one that brought him into the limelight is Wherever I Lay My Hat, by what's his name? The Canadian. Now I'm gonna feel dumb.
Tom Cochran.
No.
Paul Young.
Paul Young.
Oh shit.
Paul Young, Wherever I Lay My Hat, and he did like I'm gonna tear your playhouse down. That cover. He did.
Every Time You Go Away.
Every Time You Go Away.
My favorite Pino line.
Yeah, that was a cover Paul Young was doing, but Pino's on that. This like super classic bass part. It's just a beautiful, wonderful bass part. He was on, like I was saying, Lady in Red. I mean,
damn.
New York Minute.
That's the one.
Oh,
so many Elton John songs. He was on a lot of Pete Townsend stuff. He was on a lot.
Did he ever play with the Who?
Yeah,
he was in the Who.
Died right at the beginning of that last tour that they were all doing together. They hired Pino for the entire tour.
Okay.
I mean, he's been on Gary Newman stuff. He was on D'Angelo's Voodoo. That's when he totally, and Brown Sugar. It's when he totally just like changed his sound. And he was like, well, I've gone from this bright, round wound Music Man fretless sound. And I think he was probably afraid, like he was getting, especially with the OC2, he was getting too much of that. And he's like, I feel too much like Jocko. I feel too much like I'm doing this. I want to show that I can do something totally different. And so he changes to a P bass with the big Jamerson gauge labella flat wounds tuned down and just playing like R&B, just like the R&B-ist R&B.
Those two records are two of my favorites, man. I fucking love Voodoo.
And then, I mean,
Questlove on drums and producing.
Shoot. I mean, it's hard. Yeah, that's a little bit of a grab bag, but that guy, he's one of those, if you want to go look and you see what a discography should look like, it's a Pino Palladino discography. It covers anything and everything.
And like the fruit doesn't fall too far from the tree, his son is now another bass hero, because he's doing a lot of work with this cat named Yusef Days Yusef Dayez, and it's pretty so good. Weird. Have you seen it, John?
I have not.
Dude, looks like
him. I've seen him. I haven't heard the project.
Dude, he looks like Pino, and he has the histrionics, the body movements of Pino. Like he got all that. That's some nice DNA to get. That's some nice DNA to have.
That giant, tall Italian Welsh DNA.
All right.
I should you go to base to that.
Going to the opposite side of the spectrum from tall, let's get some funky and random in here. Let's talk about Les Claypool's rainbow bass.
That bass sucks.
Les is fairly tall.
Yeah.
He's like 6'2", I think.
It's it's a custom job made by Adam. Who's it made by?
Carl Thompson.
Yeah.
And can you name me one person that sounds like Les Claypool?
No. I mean, there's people that like
some dude you may have met at the junkyard one day.
Yeah, what you
that's the 57
I'm a pork soda. You been feeling fine.
ain't nothing quite like sitting on the front porch drinking them Kansas flying.
That bass, like, man, Les Claypool, the salamander of bass. I have that. That's what he calls himself. There's that video. It's like 30 gallons of fuel or 30 gallons of oil or whatever the fuck. But man, Adam, talk about the Carl Thompson, man. Talk about Les Claypool and how he's what I was saying before we died there's that DVD. It also has like 2 episodes of him on a fishing show, and he's like, Oteel Burbridge, he's kind of like the Michael Jordan of bass, and I guess that makes me the salamander of bass.
Man, all those old like Les DVDs and things like that, or old tapes or whatever. I just remember Alex Lifeson was in a couple of them with like big fake teeth in or something like that. I can't remember what his character was, but he was in it. But no, Les, like, I only really ever learned about the Carl Thompson basses from Jimmy. I loved Primus throughout high school, but I just never really like did my homework as much as I did on somebody like Geddy Lee. So Jimmy could speak more about those basses. I think you've actually played on a couple, right?
Yeah, I've played a couple. To me, like,
and you do anything but slap on them? I mean, once you get them, you just slap, right? That's all you do.
Well, I mean, you can't. It seems like the guys that buy them are mostly like big Les heads. And now, I mean, there were a couple of big players that played them before Les. Like Stanley Clark had one, and I think he built the very first like 6-string, or one of the very first 6 strings for he built the very first piccolo bass for Stanley Clark back in the day, back in the 70s, and then he built a couple of the big studio guys in the New York scene. Beautiful, especially in Philly. Yeah, well, it's weird. Sometimes I think it's like, oh, that's cool, and then sometimes I look at them and I'm like, they're kind of ugly, but they're
pretty
wonderfully ugly.
Yeah, they're
what's that French word? Beautifully ugly.
Oh yeah. I can't remember.
Where's Chelsea?
Yeah, it's like an artisanal ugly of some kind. It's, the
artisanal ugly.
Artisanally ugly.
The craftsmanship is so high.
That's great.
That's freaking perfect.
The opposite of a Pontiac Aztec.
Yeah. It's sort of, I mean, it was like, it played really, really well. It was unbelievably, it's the most balanced bass I've ever played, easily. The fingerboard was phenomenal. It sounded bassy. It sounded of bass. It was very cool. I'd never pay that much for one. It's not my bag. But it was nice.
But when you see again, if you walk into a show,
you see a
and
Carl
you see
Thompson
that,
and you're a bass player, you think Les Claypool.
Yes.
I don't know who else you'd even think about. Most of the guys that you see on YouTube that own a Carl Thompson are just playing Primus covers.
Jason Momoa has one. He's got one of the original Carl Thompsons, and then Les just gave him the pachyderm, and it's cute. It's adorable because he can like half-ass kind of play.
Play like some chili.
He gets through it, yeah.
He can play little chili peppers and stuff.
Yeah.
But there's funny videos where you're just like, it's one of those weird videos that you just fall into in the middle of the night on YouTube, where you're like start out watching like 90s basketball or something, and then eventually you're watching Jason Momoa play bass while Les Claypool plays drums. Like what fucking deep hole did I fall into here where I wound up seeing them? How have these two people crossed paths in the world? But I'm glad they did.
Dude, I ran into one the other day, and it was Bill Murray playing drums, and it was like Jenny Lewis or somebody like that playing guitar and singing. It's like, what the fuck? How did this happen? How did Bill Murray play drums? And don't quote me on Jenny Lewis, but it was somebody like that, like some female artist that's in that
somewhere
level.
in upstate New York.
I mean, it's probably in Charleston, South Carolina, where he like holds court everywhere he goes.
Yeah,
it's like falling into a video where like Huey Lewis is giving a physics lecture or something. Like how the hell did this happen? What is going on?
Raised to the power of love.
He's got like those blue glasses on. He's always wearing.
Yes.
But yeah, Carlton.
Coming on from Les. Let's take it back a little bit. Echoes of last week. Geddy Lee's 1972 black jazz bass. Adam.
There's the most specs on this one. Geddy bought this jazz bass on tour because he was always a Rickenbacker guy because of Chris Squire. And before that, he started out on a P bass that he bought from his mother's variety store or convenience store or something like that. But
was Working Man on the P bass?
Working Man was on the P bass. The entire first record was a P bass. And then
the Not Neil record
for Fly By Night, that was when they
got John
like band advance. So Geddy bought the Rick. Alex bought his ES335s, and Neil got his Slingerlands. But the jazz was purchased, I think, when they were on the Farewell to Kings tour at a pawn shop in Kalamazoo, Michigan, for $200, and it came with a cardboard case.
Why bother? What the fuck? Why bother with that?
$200 had all these burns in it, and he really only punked around with it on the bus or whatever. But then when it came time to record moving pictures, he brought it up to the studio with him, and thought it had the coolest sound. And that's actually, as Jimmy said last week, that's what he recorded Tom Sawyer on. Everybody thinks he played the Rick because it was in the video. That was the jazz. Vital Signs was the jazz, which is one of my favorite bass lines of his ever. And it stayed with him. I mean, he changed necks on it, or around Snakes and Arrows era, because it had been refretted so many times. But it's still the same thing,
Is that what his signature's based on?
Yes. Yeah.
Did it always have that the block in the frets? The original did?
Black block frets from the original 72, kind of like my repro that you saw me playing last week. But then in like 2010, he switched it to pearl blocks with the pearl pickguard, and that's how it is now. Okay. That's how you can buy it as the American version from Fender right now.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna start, not to go, on a side thing, but I'm just gonna start calling all my cardboard boxes cardboard cases.
Cardboard case. Do you think it was lined? Do you think it had felt lining?
I've got this bag of Christmas, or this all my Christmas ornaments go in my cardboard cases. And then I
threw a cardboard guitar case down the stairs today.
Do you think it had latches?
When I've heard that statement from Geddy, made of I've always thought of like it's like something Ricky would build on Trailer Park Boys. Duct tape handle or something like that.
For sure.
Yeah.
So let's swing it around to one of the ones that's I think it's up there with the Bass of Doom as far, or not, maybe not that for bass players, but for bass guitar in general. McCartney's Hofner. Steve?
I mean, that's it, man. It's the iconic instrument, and he's almost made it impossible for anyone to play the damn thing.
It's very true. I have an Epiphone viola bass that is sort of a tribute to that thing. It never comes out of the closet.
You're never going to be on stage with it.
Hell no! Oh my God, I'd be
Jimmy. Have you gigged with yours?
Oh, my Hofner?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I sold it.
Oh.
No, I mean, it's like, it's really cool. You know, like they have a certain thing that nothing else can quite get because they're a weird scale. Like they're like medium scale, like 32 inches or just under 32 inches.
They're
so it's not
so funky, boomy.
Yeah, it's not like not totally short scale, not standard. It's like a medium. They have like a weird boom with a quack. That nothing
with a quack.
Yeah, it's like high mid-range quack at nothing else really quite gets, but
it's it's that hollow sound.
Yeah.
Like that like
it's also like where, like, say that Carl Thompson, right, is the most well-balanced bass I've ever played. The Hofner Beetle, we call them Beetle bass now, they're the most unbalanced bass ever made. It's just
Are they more unbalanced than an SG bass?
I maybe because they're so light.
Has a solid body, yeah.
Yeah, they're so light. Like as soon as you try to put it on with the strap, it just goes whoop.
That's what
it just wants to go that way.
I used to live with a guy who had an SG bass, and you put it on, it just goes. Boom.
Yeah, it's kind of even worse because it has even less of a horn and an even lighter body. It has no horn at all.
Okay,
it just has shoulders, and then but I mean, what's funny is like, McCartney played that because they were in Germany at the time, right? They were in Hamburg, and they were given he was given the bass by Hofner, if I remember right. And he had a few different ones before the one with the pickup in the front, pickup in the back. He had like the one with the two pickups up front, and then there was like a single pickup, I think, and then that one. But he said he got that one because number one, it was given to him, and number two, he in his words is that he looked less daft for playing left-handed because it's symmetrical. Well, like if he were playing like a Gibson or a Fender or something, it would look weird because.
Did they even make left-handed guitars back then?
They did, but very, very few.
Right.
Like very, very few, and usually on custom order. So you're going to have a bad time trying to find one, especially over there where there were still like embargoes and stuff on that stuff. There were tariffs on American goods to try to boost the British economy after the war. And, and in Germany, you're not going to get that stuff. But that's one of those instruments where it probably, if McCartney hadn't have played it, it would have just been relegated into the dustbin of time. Nobody would really be like, oh, or maybe we'd come back up. Oh yeah. Hey, look at these weird German violin basses from the 50s and 60s. These are kind of cool. Cause he played other stuff too. Eventually Rickenbacker gave him a bass, and he started using Rickenbacker with flat wounds a lot for a lot of those records. Probably more than the Beetle, probably more than the Hofner, all in all.
And there's a bunch of there's a bunch of P and J on those records too.
There's a whole lot of jazz bass. There's a lot of bass six. Mostly anytime like John Lennon or George Harrison was playing bass, it was on a Fender bass six, like back in the USSR and stuff like that.
Did he play with the pick more than he didn't?
Oh yeah, he was usually playing with a pick.
All the time, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's a lot. That's where a lot of the quack comes from. It's kind of how you coax it out of that kind of bass.
What's that sound again, Adam?
I mean, it was one of the reasons he went to the Ricky. I mean, they're just kind of better built in a lot of ways. Those Hofners, I mean, having owned one, they're very hard to intonate.
Oh yeah, they're not accurate, precise.
Do they have a floating bridge?
Yes.
Yeah, it's got a floating bridge, and the saddles have these little metal tabs you have to like fit into slots.
That's how my H22 has that same thing.
And you got to get the bridge at the right angle, up and down, and then you knock really into it.
If you knock into it, you're fucked.
And he said that was the big reason he quit playing it for a long time. Is like he couldn't keep the thing in tune. The neck was getting all wonky on it. And so like a lot of those big Beatles records that you think of when you think of those big Paul sounds are actually usually like a Rickenbacker with flat wounds. on a lot of that stuff. But the Hofner Beetle bass, you see it, you instantly go, that's Paul McCartney.
Yep.
He played a wall too.
Yeah, with wings, right?
Yeah.
Really?
And Yamahas. He played a lot of he played
Yammies.
Played the Yam.
Jimmy Lykens going to single-handedly bring back the Yammy bass as if he's Billy Sheehan
Next
Man.
week. Or whatever it is.
2 weeks from now.
They're going, yeah, I'll bring out Yam for that one, man. They got to start making that thing again. It's one of the best Fenders I ever played.
There it is. Well, there's only a couple left here that we really want to touch on, but there's the big one that is James Jamerson's P bass. And I think this just more than anything, it, as opposed to bringing up a discussion of his specific bass, it's the most recorded bass of all time. I think it's a safe measure to say, wouldn't you, Jimmy?
Oh yeah, I'd say the P bass, even over the J bass, probably because it's been around longer, but also it's there'd be a lot of guys where sometimes like there was this old school thing where they would use a jazz bass live, and then they'd use a P bass in the studio. They're like, well, the jazz bass is louder, which isn't really true, but I guess they thought so.
It had to be loud.
Yeah, it had to be louder. It's like, sometimes it's kind of quieter because it gets scoopy and
Yeah.
How did you put it about the P bass? Is you can't fuck it up because it's just got.
Oh well, no. Well, the thing I feel about P basses and jazz basses also, but the thing I was saying about jazz basses is it's got one more pickup to fuck up, and a P bass. And that was my thing was if you pick up a P bass and you're not making it sound good in like 10 seconds,
it's not the bass. Yeah,
you're doing something wrong. As long as it's like set up moderately well and is in tune, or can be somewhat in tune.
So the Jamerson it was black and white, right? Black with white pick.
Sunburst.
Really? Okay.
Sunburst rosewood.
Tort pick guard.
Yep.
It's like, I mean, well, I'd grab mine and show you. It's behind my green screen, but it's that look, and the one that everyone always talks about is the Funk Machine. He had like 2 or 3. One of them is actually in Nashville.
He had a burgundy mist, right?
Yeah. There was like a burgundy mist one. He had another Sunburst that he gave to somebody. That's the one that's in I think the Musicians Hall of Fame here in Nashville.
Yeah.
But then the Funk Machine, because he had that scratched in on the body, the one he used for a lot of those Motown sessions. There was a lot of controversy as to what it is and where it is. Nobody knows where the Funk Machine is. It just disappeared after he died.
Now, did he make the move to L.A.?
He went to L.A. and he kind of like fell out because they were like, we want you to use round wounds. And he's like, no. He was still using the same set of Labella flat wounds that he'd had on it since he put it on that bass.
And is it true that one of the strings broke and he just never changed it?
He tried to. Well, he eventually had to. He tried to get Labella he tried to send him the strings and see if they could like solder it.
What?
Which is, absolutely.
That's not a thing.
That's just how strings work.
Put some JB Weld on that motherfucker. Let's go.
It's not. It's. Yeah, that's like I mean, that's like your I remember your oven rack unit going out or something, and you was like, oh, can I just solder that back together? No. That coil's done.
Growing up, I was obviously a bass player. Whatever. My brother Taylor, who will be on here one day, is a drummer.
Soon.
And my dad.
I think he's going to be playing drums next week.
My dad, who's great with woodworking, and I love him. He's gonna probably watch this, but I remember when Taylor first started playing drums and he was breaking sticks. Dad was like, don't quit buying goddamn sticks. I'm gonna fix them things.
Oh no.
That tight bond will fucking bond anything.
He would like staple them and like grind down the
getting that Elmer's wood glue on it.
It's like, that looks dangerous.
Oh, that's so dad. Oh my God. That's so dad. And that brings us to a little teaser for next week. Next week's episode is called Dad Rock and a Fresh New White Pair of New Balances.
It's putting miter bolts in them drumsticks.
I'm thinking about getting like a 3-button polo for that. I think it's going to be my outfit for that episode.
I've got a good 3-button polo I could use. But yeah,
I used to own a Yes shirt. I could have worn that.
Does anyone have a Parrot Head shirt? Does anyone have a Jimmy Buffett shirt?
I got an old Hank Jr. shirt.
That's pretty dad. That's pretty dad.
The only thing I have that would fit in is a fish shirt, and that's
pretty dad.
It's kind of dad at this point. Yeah, I think it works. It's kind of on brand for me too. So
hey, if you all, everybody, now that you know,
dad.
now that you know what our next episode is, in the comments section, feel free to tell us who you think is who do you think that qualifies as dad rock. So anyway, we're talking about James Jamerson and we probably Machine. And Funk Machine, just to try to be a little inclusive. James Jamerson is the guy that you've heard probably more than anybody that we've talked about, because he was who was other Motown bass players. But when you think about Motown bass players, you think of Bob Babbitt. Yeah, okay. Carol Kay was a Motown, right?
No, she's West Coast.
Okay.
I thought she did do some Motown.
She did whenever they did some like the West Coast.
I was gonna say, like, I figured like once they went to LA, maybe she got in there.
Then there was like Wilton Felder and guys like that, who was actually a saxophone player. And then Chuck Rainey did some of the stuff, like once they made the move to the West Coast. But I mean, Jamerson's like the guy you always think of, and then after that, it's usually like Bob Babbitt.
I was a late bloomer to owning a proper P bass as a bass player. You know, the first bass I ever got was an Ibanez that had a P pickup in it. So
was it a Sound Gear? Ibanez Sound Gear?
Of course it was.
Dude, every good bass player that I know, and I've been lucky enough to know a bunch. You three, Chris Justice, James and Quiet, they all started out on Ibanez Sound Gears.
My first fretless I ever bought was a Sound Gear. It's still in the closet here.
Oh man, you should have got that 6-string, man. That 6-string was a hotness.
I had the 6-string.
Did you really?
I had the green SR 406.
Yeah, boy.
Absolutely.
My dad
so many all ages shows played with a Sound Gear.
Oh my god.
The old Sounds Good.
My dad still has my Sound Gear 100, and he made me sign the back of the headstock.
Yes, Sound Gear into a TNT, baby.
I had an SWR LA 100.
Shit works right.
But it was loud. But anyway, what were you even talking?
You were talking about your Sound Gear, your first bass, your Ibanez, and you became a new.
Yeah. So, but I never wanted to get like a proper P bass until I was just, James Jamerson's line on What's Going On, I think, is the best recorded bass line in history.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of my favorites. And just that number one P bass is of his, and he's laying hungover, drunk as fuck on a dirt floor.
He was on his back for that, right?
Back, yeah. He was too fucked up to stand.
Yeah, they were trying to sit him in the stool, but he was too drunk.
No shit.
Just come in from a gig.
And he just spurts out this fucking amazing bass line, just one for the ages.
One take.
Drunk
Jesus
as piss, laying on his back,
Christ.
doing the hook, the one finger hook.
Is he one of the most recorded or the most heard bass players?
Oh yeah, definitely one of the most heard. I mean, I guess it'd be like, as far as most heard, it's probably
Sklar,
well, probably him and McCartney. I guess if you go by like who gets right spins on whatever. But yeah, Lee Sklar, Chuck Rainey is way up to. Chuck Rainey's probably the most recorded bass player of all time. Yeah, I mean it's Nathan those guys.
East has got a lot.
Nathan East has got a whole lot. But yeah, I mean it's like, as far as the Funk Machine, they're like, half this thing is like, whoa. You have the nerds, that are getting into, well, it's a pre-CBS, this is before the CBS buyout, and this and this and this. But then when you actually look at the pictures, you see the pearloid dots in the neck, and you're like, oh, that's not CBS. So it's not clay. So it's probable that the Funk Machine was actually like a 64, 65 P bass.
Hands, man.
A CBS Fender, which is just, they get shit on by so many people for saying, I mean, I got an old CBS Fender sitting back here. It plays great.
It's wood.
I don't see what the big deal is.
It's great.
Yeah.
I mean, I've played pre-CBS ones too that are like magical and wonderful, and I've played some that are dog shit.
Fender's quality assurance throughout history has been known to be inconsistent. It got worse in the late 70s and the early 80s, but you put two of them next to each other and they don't sound a damn thing alike. So,
no, but that's what's cool about them.
That's pretty much
absolutely.
That's pretty much like any great maker. Like it's what like there's some brands, the brands that I usually kind of like don't always get into are usually because they're exceptionally consistent, but never like magical. Like they're never
character.
They're never inspiring. And then the ones that I do like the things, brands that I own, it's like you'll play a lot of duds that just lay there. But then when you find that one, it's so far above whatever else you were looking for, and it just kind of reaches into you and grabs you. It doesn't matter what it is, it's
like you talk about like consistency. Then like, I own that. It's the first production run of the Geddy Lee Signature Jazz. It was this 1972 copy, and I think you played on it too, Jimmy. But Carter had a 72 down there, looked just like it, black, everything. It played like dog shit. That thing was horrible.
That's the thing about vintage guitars is while some of them are absolute unicorns and absolutely amazing, they're also all really old. And so really old shit breaks. Yeah.
A lot of times by guys at like VFWs that had no idea what they were doing for a long time.
They spent 30 years in a smoky bar getting the shit kicked out of it by Jaco Pastorius' wannabe twin brother.
This is a story that comes from a long time music instrument seller when Les Paul was going to do like some reissue of some 67 Les Paul or whatever, so they actually went to Heritage to those old luthiers and they were trying to get the exact schematics. They were like, what kind of gauge wire did you put from this pot to this pickup? And those dudes were just like, I don't know, whatever we had. And they're like, and then we just cut it whatever length. Like there was no codification of making those instruments.
Sure. No, well, I mean, it's like SRV's guitar, like we were talking about. It's got the Strat and the number one, it's got probably a 63 body and a 62 neck. It was very common for Fender anyway, to just like they had grab bags of bodies and necks, and sometimes they were a year or two off of each other in the pots. Like you'd have pots from one year, a neck from another year, and a body from another year, and you just throw them all on there. And then you put on a neck plate and you go to the next
pulling
one.
Parts out of bins.
So then what like the wood is gonna, I guess the porousness of the wood or the grain of the wood and the density, the how well the neck and the body work together, it's all just, it's a crapshoot as to what you're getting when you're working at scales of that size. Even back in the old days, you're working at a bigger scale. It's even with super high quality makers, it's going to be a crapshoot. You could take a serious boutique blue chip, say acoustic guitar maker, and they'll have a guitar that sounds amazing, and then one that sounds like good, but maybe not quite as amazing as that. And then again, it's also subjective. And then I'm just talking out my ass, and what's amazing to me won't be amazing to the next person. They might like something else. Sure.
But we could all.
The Eddie Van Halen Frankenstrap probably shouldn't have worked at all, but he made it work. And it worked for him. So.
But we could all agree that if you could have the funk bass, you'd have that.
Oh, well,
yeah.
Well, and then they say that like his action was so high, it was like pretty much unplayable to everybody else. But he spent years doing upright and stuff, and he would talk about it. It's like the tones in the grease, and and how far they all are off the board, which I kind of agree with a little bit. I don't like my strings flat against the board. I like them off a little bit. I don't want super duper high action, but I like them off a little bit.
It's kind of how I like my bass pedals.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like them to ring a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
They need to, they're bouncing against frets. They're not going to ring.
Yeah. That's just, you got to be able to hit the thing. It's a bass. You have to,
I hit them too hard and have them too low.
Yeah.
Man, you got that fucking Getty sound down, dude. It's so good. I've listened to that recording I've listened to it. I think it's up to about 500 views right now, and I've listened to it. I've been 10 of them.
Yeah, I don't know how
at least. So, John, what else you got on the clipboard?
That concludes our presentation on the subject of what gear we really love.
Did anyone do this? Because we're all of the age where when we were kids, they were actually like catalogs, not like Sweetwater where they give you a catalog and give you a little small grab bag of things to buy. Did anyone else like fantasy buy stuff out of like Interstate Music? Mine was Interstate Music.
Interstate Music Supply. Yes.
Fuck yes. The best part about them.
Any catalogs.
Dude, I've got the tattoo.
You have an Interstate Music Supply tattoo?
Well, the drum version of it, yeah, because they changed it and it's really cool. It's here. And then when they changed it, it's like this kind of like artistic rendering of a drummer. I have the IMS tattoo. After they changed the logo, I was like, okay, now I can get it.
Amazing.
Yeah, I do. This one, it says Rhythm is Life underneath it.
No, I think you and I are old enough to remember IMS. Jimmy, Adam, did you guys have IMS?
Oh yeah. Yeah, my mom used to get it because she was a band teacher.
The best part about IMS was like they didn't just for drummers anyway. They didn't just list your packages, say your Pearl export and your.
No, they listed every size of every model, man. Dude,
I used to go in with a highlighter, like I want that 10, I want that 12, I want that 14.
We used to get all the ones. Like we get IMS, we get Woodwind Brasswind.
Yeah, oh shit, that's the one. Yeah,
Lemur Music.
I don't remember that one.
Elderly instruments.
Yeah.
I got Woodwind, Brasswind, Musician's Friend, and AMS.
American Musical Supply.
And Sweetwater. Yeah. Sweetwater's annoying as shit.
Oh, man. Anybody get a Sweetwater email today? Because I did.
Well,
I get a Sweetwater email like every other day.
I bought a tuner from Sweetwater in 2008. When I
and they called yesterday.
Yeah.
How's that tuner working out for you?
Did you like the Smarties?
Yeah. And I started playing with the spoon benders and they would call me. How's that Korg pitch black working out for you? I was like, it's tuning. And then they would call back 3 years later. It's like, actually, the pedals getting a little wonky, bro. Like,
have a nice day. Click.
Yeah.
I had to rebuild mine like 40 times.
Yeah.
I've got it. It's like my spare. I've got it like on my spare like shit board. I don't really like for shit I don't care about.
That's my main board, so that's good.
Yeah.
Let's end it with this question. What is
U3, man? That's where you got to go.
What is everybody's favorite piece of gear that they own? John, what is, because John has a guitar. John has a guitar problem. John has a gear problem.
I go last. I have a gear problem.
Because I think I know what Jimmy's is. Jimmy, go ahead. The number one piece of gear that if you can't have anything else, you have to. This is the one thing that you can have. What is that one? Piece of gear?
Just to own.
You realize those are different things, right? Like my
like a guitar, an instrument. Like what is an instrument?
Okay.
Yeah.
Like if there was just one instrument that I could own, like of a certain type.
Yep. What would it be?
Oh, it'd be like a 1939 D28.
Oh, really?
Or it'd be like a D45, definitely.
Oh shit! I was gonna say it was your number one P bass.
Oh, I mean, if it's one I already got, then I guess.
Yeah, the thing that you own right now. What is the number one thing that you own that is your favorite? That is your go-to? If
it's like as far as being my go-to, the thing that is always there that I always wind up grabbing is that old P bass. And here, I'll grab it so we can just
go grab that. Adam, I'm pretty sure I know yours too.
I think I can see it.
I do too.
Oh no. It's the P bass now, isn't it?
No, I love the P bass. Believe me, love that thing. But as we were talking in the chat the other day, it's like
this old girl.
I don't really want. Yeah, look at that shit.
That's a sexy bass. I love that bass.
Yeah,
I used it earlier today, and I used it yesterday. But yeah, this is the one that Always just gets the
Beauty.
love no matter what I do. It's a 1970. That somebody put in a 70s jazz pickup in like 40 years ago.
Too low.
There it is. Yeah.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
the one that just always gets the love. It just always works.
That's never going anywhere.
No, this one it will always be here. Like that pearl one that I played with you, that one will always be here because it's a great bass. But the neck on this one, like that bass is special. It's a really, really cool bass. That pearl bass, I've been through hell and back with that thing.
Yep.
But the neck on this one is butter. It's a butter neck. And all the 70s are good for whatever reason. 1970 was just like a fantastic year for P basses. So that one's never going anywhere.
Adam, what is your one instrument that you love more than all? Who's your favorite child?
Well, like I was saying the other day, is like I don't see myself wanting to go buy any more basses because like all the ones that I ever pined for, I have. This Rickenbacker I have because of being a Chris Squire and Geddy Lee fan. I have this over here which you can't see, but you've seen in other videos, the translucent white 58 reissue looking P bass is amazing. And I have, my first ever good bass other than the Ibanez was a Mexican J bass, which I still love, I still own. But even though there's a billion other of these ever made because they're one of Fender's best sellers, it's always going to come back to my Geddy Lee jazz bass because I bought that when I was a junior in high school for really cheap. It was brand new, but like everybody in town had played on it because they'd all been through that guitar shop. But I've played a billion other of those, and there's obviously like as many out there as there are people in the world at this point. But this one feels and sounds different to me. And I've worn down the neck like a lot of the lamination's gone.
Your DNA's in that bass.
Oh, dude. Yeah. And this one's been everywhere with me. So, and that's what I used last week for that Rush cover. And, nothing else I have sounds like it.
You got that bass for being a Marcus Miller fan.
John, you have a serious instrument problem, so I know this is fucking hard. What is your number one instrument in your house right now?
I mean, right now you're adding a time variable as well.
Well, I mean, just like the fucking your favorite fucking thing that you own.
I too have it right here.
Except mouse.
Yep. I knew it.
This is a guitar. This is ostensibly a 1998 Mexican Squire Telecaster.
No shit.
That I sort of took all the paint off of. Basically, the only thing that's original are the neck, the body, and the frets. Yes, that's true. The neck, the body, and the frets are the only thing that are original on this. Everything else has been replaced, but it was like the first electric that I sort of Frankensteined and put together in the traditions of Eddie Van Halen and people like that. And it came out really, really special. It's got a Fralin P90 in the neck, and it's got a really hot Duncan in the bridge that matches with this really well. It's actually, for a Telecaster, it's kind of dark. It's not a real bright, shiny twang banger. It's got more of a dark soul than that, but it just feels really good. The neck's great. It's got tiny little vintage frets, and once again, my DNA is in this guitar.
I figured. I remember when you started stripping that shit and you were like, ooh, this is a lot harder than I thought it was going to be, getting all this Fender finish off this damn guitar.
Oh my God, dude. It's almost 1/8 of an inch thick. The stuff, the plastic that they dip their wooden guitar bodies in so the finishes come out straight like that. So I'll put it to you, Steve, on our final note. What is your favorite piece of gear that you own?
It's so easy. I have, and it has a very cool story behind it. I have a 64 round badge white marine pearl snare drum that I say is the greatest sounding snare drum that I've ever that exists. It's fucking amazing.
This is a drum channel, ladies and gentlemen.
It's a 64 round badge, man. There's something about it. It came from my boss at the store that I taught at, and unfortunately, I don't know if that store is going to last through all of this, which is a bummer. But for like 20 years, almost 20 years, I've taught at this place, and I borrowed it from him, from Tom Kirk. Man, Tom watches this.
We all know Tom. Yeah.
He gave it to me to record with you all with Voldemort on our main record. Wow. And I told Tom, I was like, this is the best sounding snare drum I've ever played. It haunts me. When I recorded for the first time, it fucking haunted me. I'd never sounded that good on a snare drum. And I kept it for a while. And then around Christmas time, he was like, hey man, I need that snare drum back. Bring it back to me. I was like, fuck, okay. So I brought it back to him. And my last day of working that year, I was I was saying bye to Tom. I was like, hey Tom, I'll see you after the first of the year. He's like, hey, go back up to your fucking room. And he had wrapped it in Christmas paper and gave that fucking thing to me. And it's the most special, and it's not collectible anymore because I put on a aftermarket snare throw off. I put one of those trick airplane aluminum. Yeah, because man, those old snare throw offs, man, they're
terrible. They're fucking garbage and nastiness,
and they're not smooth. No. So yeah, I put like $100+ snare throw off on it. That was the most scared I've ever been drilling into something because I had to drill holes. And I remember being in my living room. I went to do it like 7-8 times and just couldn't. It's like, I am drilling into a 64 round badge Gretsch. And like, there's no going back. Like if I fuck this up, it's all fucked. And it's the best. It's my number one. It's what you saw today. No, I didn't use. Yeah, I did. I did use it today on the recording that you heard today. It's perfect. There's something about those 45-degree rounded edges on those snare drums, and it's just the best. It's my favorite instrument. It's so special to me. I will be very picky on who I give that to after I shuffle off this mortal coil. Like somebody gonna have to earn that because it's fucking phenomenal. It's great. That's my favorite.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you once again for following along here with the Drunk Uncles and Drunk Uncle Radio. We are, for the 4 of you that lasted this long, thank you. We love you. We're actually amazed that you're still here. That's pretty impressive. We hope that we've enlightened a little bit. We hope that we've piqued your curiosity. If you have any level of gear acquisition syndrome, well, I'm sorry for you as a person who suffers violently from it.
Who here has go ahead.
I was going to say just buy it. Who gives a shit? Just buy it.
Just buy it.
Well, I was going to say how many of us have hidden a purchase from your significant other?
Nah. I just tell her, it's like, I bought this. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. You at least know to say I'm sorry after.
You're like, look, it's really pretty. I mean,
you have so many bases, Jimmy. How many bases you need?
Well, I did whittle it down to like 2, and now I think I've only got like 7.
That's not bad. That's not bad.
It's not that bad.
Not bad at all. I don't count all the pile of like old cheap guitars that are in the closet. Those don't count anymore. So I only have like 12 or 13 guitars. It's fine.
Which means it's like 20.
It's like 20. It's like 20 or 22 guitars. And that doesn't count the rest of the recording studio around here, the drum set and the Hammond, but still, anyways. If you want it, go get it, because someone needs to shepherd these things through the years. These old instruments aren't going to last forever. They need stewards. We love you. Thank you all very much for watching Drunk Uncle Radio. From myself, Steve, Jimmy, and Adam, have a great day.